Hiya, pig.
Hi there, I'm Mark from Forge Fieldcraft, and today we're going to be having a go at doing some dry cured bacon. So what we've actually got here is a belly pork, piece of belly pork, and the main difference between pork and bacon is that this isn't cured obviously yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sheet the bone out completely in one piece, so we're going to have the ribs to go in the Rayburn later for a bit of supper, our spare ribs. And then I'm going to trim it up, and then we're going to look at the salting process in the mixer we need to do that. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do is start by sheet boning the whole of this out, all the ribs out in one hit. I'm not going to take the flap off at the top, I'm going to leave that on the spare ribs, so that we'll be cooking that off later. So, turn the boat round, again underneath. This isn't going to be a clean boning session now, this is going to be more about leaving a little bit of meat on the bone. And the idea being that we want no flaps of meat left on the belly where we might not be able to get some salt in there to do the curing, and then bacteria could actually grow in that, underneath that flap. So that's where it's important that we don't allow any flaps to be left behind when we finish trimming the meat. Dry curing is pretty much, in my opinion, 3 stages. One is about the meat preparation, the second one is about the salting process, and the third one, which is definitely very important, is the air drying. And it's the air drying that we need to be pretty careful on, because in damp weather, which we're getting an awful lot of at the moment, it can be quite hard to dry cure effectively. So you need a nice airy shed or outbuilding with plenty of airflow running through it. Okay, so just finishing off, as you can see there now, just taking out the whole lot with the fat and things that came off the back of the belly pork, left on 4 spare ribs for us for later. And now I'm left with a nice bit of belly that's been half trimmed, and that's not bad. We're just going to take off the tail end here, this little bit of fat. Like I said, so we haven't got anywhere for bacteria to actually hide. And that is like really, really important. So there's nothing hard about this. A belly pork like this would probably cost about something like about £15 in butchers, I would imagine, although we're lucky we've got our own here. So that's our belly pork done, ready to go. We don't score the rind or anything like that. We just want it as it is there now, nice and boned. Most of the fat trimmed off. Doesn't matter, there's a few little bits like that. That's fine. That's okay, as long as there's no flaps. And then what we want to talk about now is our mix. So what we've got here is ordinary table salt. There's no need to be salt, sea salt or kosher salt or anything like that. This is fine. So we've got £2 of salt, we've got half a pound of ordinary granulated sugar, and we've got a dessert spoon of black pepper, crushed black pepper. And just put that all in, and then we're going to mix it all up. And this now is our cure, and we won't use all of this cure now immediately, but over the next couple of days I'll be using what's left of this to go on the meat again, because unfortunately the meat actually absorbs some of the salt, and it gives up the moisture in the meat, so then the bacteria can't grow. That's what we're trying to do, is draw off the moisture from the meat so the bacteria can't develop. So skin side down on the rind, just rubbing it in. Rub it in well, a little bit more. I'll probably use about half of this now today, or maybe just a little bit more. And the key is that you actually cover the meat completely over the next couple of days in salt in a tub. It can be a wooden tub, which is what we're going to be using, or it can be a plastic tub. That's fine, or even an earthenware one, but it mustn't be metal. Metal isn't good to use. So we just rub it into the rind. Good old coating in around the meat. And back end there. Rub it in well. And then if you run short of having enough salt to cover all your pork from this mix that we've done now, don't worry about it, just add salt after. There's no need to make another mix up, just use salt. The main thing is the pork is completely covered, and you turn it every couple of days in your tub, and you allow the tub to be put on a little bit of an angle so that the brine that's been made can run to one corner and not keep the meat constantly wet. You need it to be sort of drying out. This piece of pork will be weighing, with a bone out now, it'll be £7. And with it boned out and £7, the pork will need a day and a half per pound of meat to cure. So, what did I say, £6 in weight it was, sorry. So if it's £6 in weight, it's going to need 9 days to cure, typically. That's the same for doing a gammon or anything else as well. But, because this meat is quite thin, narrow, the salt will actually penetrate it quite easily, and then it'll draw off the fluid a lot quicker, the moisture. So you're always in this catch-22 between making your bacon as effectively and as safely as you possibly can with that day and a half rule per pound. But with this now, I'm going to go for somewhere between 6 and 9 days. So about 7 to 8 days this should be done, and then the dry curing process will be finished, and then it will need to be hung in an airy shed with plenty of airflow for about a month minimum. And that month it will continue to dry. It needs to be wrapped up in some sort of muslin or cheesecloth or something to keep the flies off it, keep them away. And that's the main thing. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just carry on rubbing this in for a few minutes, and then I'll come back with us putting in the box ready for dry curing. So what we're doing now, I'm going to be putting in some of the dry cure into the bottom of this wooden box, just a nice sprinkling on the bottom of the wooden box. It's just a homemade box, bit of pine. I prefer it. If you notice, the edges aren't perfectly sealed, and that allows the brine to leak out. So for the first day now, or first couple of days, I'm going to have this, I'm probably going to use most of it. Then I'm going to put in the rest of the mix, or a fair whack of it anyway, until it's all covered and there's no room for any bacteria to produce under any flaps of meat, and that's the main thing to remember. And then I'll put this, if there is any mix left, dry cure, sweet cure, we'll put a bit of salt in it. If there is any left, which there will be, I think, then probably in the next day or two I'll be checking it, and then I'll add more and turn the pork over, and slowly but surely this pork will convert from pork to bacon. Okay, so that's it, we're nearly there. And next thing I want to talk about now, as we've nearly done that, is just putting a little bit of pressure on it. So what I've got here is the board, which makes the lid, isn't sealed by any way. A little bit of salt and mix on top of that. Doesn't need to be much. Put it down on top of the meat, and just that little bit extra weight helps to help push out the fluid within the meat, if you like, yeah? Now the key is not that sort of time span I said, somewhere between 6 and 9 days. Over time, and the more you do, you'll get to realise, you get a feel for the pork that it is actually lost a lot of its water content, and it'll actually start to get quite stiff. Once it gets to that, somewhere between 6 and 9 days, if it's your first time you're not sure, leave it run 9 or 10 days even. But if you're happy that you're feeling that it's really quite stiff and it's effective, then take it out, wash it down well under cold water. Don't be afraid, you won't be rehydrating it quickly in that time. good wash down, rub it vigorously, get as much of the salt off as you possibly can, all of it, and then dry it with paper towels. Once it's all dried, then wipe the whole lot of the meat down with some cider vinegar, and that stops any bacteria growing on the surface. Then if you poke a little hole through the side of the one corner, tie a little bit of string through in a loop, and then hang it on a hook nice and high up where there's going to be plenty of airflow, and like I say, no chance of flies getting at it. You can wrap it in muslin, but at the moment, I mean, if you're in an area where you aren't getting many flies, you can leave it without anything on it, but keep your eye on it. Make sure you don't leave flies start laying eggs on it. So we're going to leave it at that stage now. When we're hanging it up, we'll be doing that, like I say, somewhere between 6 and 9 days, 7 to 8, and then we're going to leave it for about a month. And then after about a month, I'll probably get a couple of slices off it that we're going to fry up to see what it tastes like, and it'll just continue to improve month after month by being left in this nice airy place where there's plenty of airflow. And that is it. It's as simple as that. You can smoke it if you want to. There are lots of things you can do to improve it. Again, I like it like that. I find it works well, and if it is a little bit salty, it's fantastic for going into stews and things. Anyway, that's another thing from us at Forge Fieldcraft. Thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it, and take care. Cheers.